Okay, we're ready to go.
Good evening. It's 7:01, and I'd like to call the regular council meeting of March the 23rd to order. Could I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
All motion.
Thank you. Introduction of late items. We have 7.1D heritage permit. And under section 12, an MOU for the Hell or High Water fundraiser. And then we also have under section 9, 1A, we have the correspondence from the Two Rivers Society, and under 9, 1C, we have the fire truck. So that's the museum and the museum. Right. What's the correspondent?
Under 9.1.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So I've added those late items to our agenda. Is there any other late items? Seeing none, could I get a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
All motion. I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Do we have any delegations? Hearing that we have none, we're on to public comment.
Good evening, everyone. This is the public comment period for council. If you have an item that you would like to speak to on the agenda, please use the raise hand function at the bottom of your screen, and I will call upon you. If you would like to speak, you'll have up to 2 minutes to speak, and you will be asked to state your name, address, and which item you're speaking to. So I'm just going to change the view here so I can see everyone. And it looks like I have Mr. Ernie Wagner. So Mr. Ernie Wagner, can you please state your name for the record and your item on the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Ernie Wagner, living in Agassiz right now, but I'm representing family in Lytton. Mayor and council, this is to do with bylaw 711, which is mostly good, but a little extreme in zone 1 and 1A. As my letter states on page 99 and 100 of the agenda, zone 1, which is 10 meters or 33 feet from your house, with a diameter of 66 feet, would not fit in a 50-foot wide lot. I propose that the zone 1 be changed to 6 meters or 20 feet with a diameter of 40 feet. This would also allow for a fixed propane tank if desired in the average lot, which is twice the distance of the provincial regulations. Also, zone 1A, for most homes because of a roof overhang, is about 6 feet from your house. Right now it needs to be bare dirt, gravel, or cement with no vegetation. I propose 1A be changed to allow lawn if mowed under 4 inches and flowers if kept green. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wagner. Next on the speaker list, we have Judith Urquhart. Judith, you have up to 2 minutes to speak, and please state your name and your address and the item you're speaking to. And Judith, you can speak now. Unfortunately, Judith, we can't hear you right now. We're still not hearing any sound coming through. So I'm going to mute you, and I'm going to just ask to unmute you one more time. And Centerpoint, can you hear anything? Mayor and
Yeah,
Council?
over here.
No? Okay. Sorry, Judith. It looks like we can't.
I don't know his name.
Judith, sorry, we're going to move on to the next speaker. If you go onto our website, you are able to call into the meeting as well if you're not going to do directly Zoom, so you can try again, but we're going to move on to the next speaker. The next speaker on the list is Charles or Noni. So I'm not sure who is there, so you can now unmute and state your name, your address, and the item on the agenda you'd like to speak to.
Oh, just a second. There, I'm coming. Just
Thank
give me
you.
a sec. There we go. Okay. Can't see me. Hi, everyone. I'm Noni McCann. I live across the river in Lytton, and it's nice to see you. Thank you for the opportunity. Tonight, I just wanted to make sure that an invitation was issued to the mayor, Mr. Polderman, and councillors, Councillor Hay and Lillian Gray, to attend the barbecue family picnic at Cumsheen Resort on April the 2nd. We're hoping that you and any other staff members who would be interested in attending come for just a general fun day to meet and greet and be with people from Lytton, and that we are going to have something very similar to what you'll remember the old Lions picnic being. We'll have horseshoes, we'll have our chicken poop bingo, we'll have, I think we've got somebody coming that will play Schlahau, and basically we'll find money for hot dogs and burgers, so you can kind of have a little barbecue, hang out with your friends, bring your own lawn chair, and just have an enjoyable day. Let's hope the weather cooperates with us. So I just wanted to make sure everyone knew that that was on the table. I did send that in an email, but I'm not sure if it's a sufficient notice, so I thought I would just invite you in person tonight for that event. Okay, that was basically what I wanted to have tonight.
Thank you, Noni. Just to confirm, we did actually receive your letter and we added it as a late item to this agenda package. So it is online right now. So thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you. I was late myself. I didn't get to see that. Sorry.
That's okay. All right, so let's go back to Judith and see if we have solved our sound issues here. We'd like to hear from you, Judith. Okay. Unfortunately, still can't hear you. Judith, if you would like to send an email to myself at Legislative Services, it's legservices@lytton.ca. We can see if we can get that addressed for you later in the meeting, okay? I'll be here standing by. I'm not seeing any more hands up for this public comment period, so thank you, Mayor Polderman, and we can move on.
Thank you. We're on to item 5, the adoption of the regular council meetings of March 9th. Do we have, can I get a motion to adopt the agenda or the minutes, sorry, as presented or amended?
All motion?
Are there any amendments? Seeing none. Oh,
Councillor Hay, I'll second the motion.
are there any corrections? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So we're on to item 6, business arising from the minutes, the Unmet Needs Committee. So on page 12 to 16. So we have 3 options on that, if I remember correctly. So we have 2 options on that. So the options that we have, one option, the council moves forward with the establishment of the Unmet Needs Committee. Amends the TOR to include management of donations and appoints 1 council member to the committee. one key staff lead, direct staff to correspondence with business community and Lytton First Nations for one representative each, and further appoint the following 4 community members: Megan Fanridge, Jessica Lightfoot, Noni McCann, and Denise O'Connor. And option 2 is that the council reconsiders the need for a standalone unmet needs committee and move the function under the Citizens Advisory Committee, the Select Committee. Would you like this?
I'd like to motion for option 2.
Would you like to second her motion?
Yeah, Counselor Hale, second the motion.
Discussion?
We've had such a poor reaction to this that moving the function for the donations back to the CAC seems like the most effective use of time for staff.
Okay. Is there any other questions to this option? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
So we're on to item 6.2, the unfinished business contract award for the archaeology and heritage monitoring. That the council approve a direct award to AEW LP in the amount of $486,326 to perform the role of archaeology and heritage monitoring during the debris cleanup and remediation in the village of Lytton. And that the mayor and the CAO be authorized to execute the contract. Would someone like to make that motion?
I'll motion.
Counselor Hayes will move.
Okay.
I'll second.
the motion. Okay. Sorry, a little delay in the time. Is there any discussion?
I have a quick question. I think Madam CAO can probably answer it. I thought this amount was actually 300 something thousand, not 400. Did
So
it
what,
go up?
Well, because we're actually doing all the village now. Before it was the uninsured, underinsured, and so now I'm going to let Mr. Hayes speak to this because he'll have a more in-depth rendition of the actions that have taken place in this last few days even.
Super, thank you.
Yeah, sure, Councillor Gray. Yeah, the last report that we brought forward was prior to the announcement that the provincial government was going to cover this function for the underinsured properties within the village. So we had received costing for all of the uninsured properties that the village is executing the work on. This now captures the scope of work for the underinsured properties, which is in this case, all of the insured properties for this particular scope. So it required an additional full-time on-site monitor to accommodate for those extra properties during the operation. So you're right, it is an increased cost from the last time. It's also an increased scope of work.
Thank you, James. I just wanted to confirm. So that's just under $500,000 for 6 months, and they'll be doing monitoring on all sites.
Correct. The assumption is that we may have 2 contractors working within the village, the insurer's contractor, as well as the village of Lytton as contractor. So we need to have a monitor essentially for each of the operations that are doing subsurface work. There may be need for additional monitors at various times through the project, which will be addressed at that time. This also accounts for the archaeologist in the event of chance finds or any known historical sites, as well as the archaeologist signing on to the umbrella heritage permit as required by the village.
Super, thank you so much.
Hearing no further questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So we're on to staff reports from our Chief Administrative Officer, Madam CAO.
Okay, so I'll provide an update on the recovery plan since March the 9th to present. So what we do is we continually update the short-term recovery plan, working through all the subheadings. So debris removal, the first 5 municipal properties, so the surface debris has been done. Sifting and personal belongings still needs to be done for a few of the properties, zone 1 in particular, which is our next area that we'll be doing. We still need one more right of entry permit. MAPCon will become the general contractor now, so all will have to suit up. So anybody that goes into the village will have to follow their safety plan. Archaeological permit, we will later in the agenda here, and a couple more staff reports, we will now be needing to sign the heritage permit. The provincial government under ADM Peterson will be taking on the heritage permit itself, but the village does require a signature onto it. As you just heard, the contract was awarded to get going on that part of it. One of the questions that we've been asked is Hobo Hollow for Freshet. Will that get cleared? And so that will get worked on. Mr. High might be able to give more information on that, but our intention is to get going on it shortly. Soil remediation, IBI contracting is actually going to be working with the province regarding contaminated sites. Coordination with the insurance companies, working with, so our project manager, James High, has been working with JS Held on that part of it, temporary housing for 20 units, which would be a work camp. Again, our project manager and the housing manager are working on some options for that would also take into consideration the essential needs workers. So that's coming closer to some kind of a resolution. Critical infrastructure, we are waiting for the procurement policy and delegation bylaw to be adopted by council so that we can move forward on some of that. And the assessment still needs to be done by Urban Systems. Housing manager Jack Keogh, which we were going to introduce tonight, but he had arranged to be out of the country prior to being brought onto the village. He is connecting with EMBC and they're working through the data set on who is intending on moving back or not. He's also working with BC Housing and he has met with several proponents on housing options. As a side note to that, he has great experience working with BC Transit and is working to have BC Transit do some bus stops within the village of Lytton to carry people to either Lillooet, Ashcroft, and potentially Hope. So you can make connections there. Director of Development and Planning, Mr. Ron Dickinson, and Mr. Ron Matuzzi have been working through the building bylaw. So we received over 200 comments. That's been compiled. And we will now be holding a workshop with council on April the 4th to talk about some potential changes that the two team members would like to see happen that would actually make things better. We are working with Blackwell Operations on the Community Wildfire Protection Plan. Under zoning and official community plan, some items from the building bylaw will likely be moved to either one of these. You'll hear, so stay tuned, so you'll hear what's going on. As part of the short-term recovery plan, it was to develop a citizen advisory committee. That terms of reference has now been adopted. And the unmet needs committee, as you just heard tonight, that we're actually going to put that underneath the citizen advisory committee. There's also a staff report after this on gift cards that we received from CN in mid-February that actually expire in July. So we would like to put a motion on the council table tonight about dealing with those. Under economic development, part of the $1 million fund that we got in January from the provincial government, 500 is for economic development. So we're looking at a regional economic development strategy, which would involve all the stakeholders. And working with a team member from the Rural Development Ministry, we've developed a job description, which is a change from the economic development traditional job description for community and business recovery specialists. This is currently with LFN and NNTC to comment. Town hall meetings tomorrow night. Notice the new time, which is 5:30. So tune in tomorrow night. And as far as the office, public workspace, we're coming closer to a resolution. We're looking at an aqua trailer potentially to be set up in the community. We have looked at Aspen Planer, so the team is working on settling those. Evacuation alert was on Loring Ponderosa Kent, and that's now been rescinded as of the 21st of March. The SOL will be kept on with the village itself due to the debris removal that we're doing, because there are hazards there. And temporary fire hall, still working on that option. Resiliency Center, thanks to Denise O'Connor and her team of volunteers, also Christy Palmatier, who's EMBC staff, who's been keeping this going and bringing new stuff in. So Red Cross will be there Monday to Friday. The Aboriginal Skills Education Training folks will be there Tuesdays. The disaster mental health folks will be there on Thursdays. There will be free haircut day and technological day for people that are having issues with their phones or laptops on March 30th. So stop in and check it out. And while the school is closed during spring break for the next 2 weeks, Miss O'Connor is opening it at 10 a.m. It is getting busier, and the weather is probably part of it, but also people are, we have more coming to the center to support the folks. The MIVA part of doing the bylaws and policy recovery has gone through the House, and Bill 2 is now available online. The 2022-26 5-year financial plan budget we've been working through, and there's a reminder for March 31st for public input to the budget, and Mr. Terry Hawes, our CFO, will be leading that charge. And then the by-election, we are receiving packages, so that's good. So there's definitely some interest. And today, the chief elections officer was in the village of Lytton from 1 to 4, accepting packages. We are looking at doing a pre-election session with declared candidates around April the 10th. And then also running a post-election orientation with the newly elected and the current council. That's my report.
Thank you, Madam CEO. So we are now on to item 7.1B, which is the gift card donations. Staff has provided 3 options. Council, what is your preference? Which option would you like to choose?
Can I ask a quick question just before we move on this?
Yes.
Do we know how many gift cards we have in total now?
Councillor Gray, are you asking about the quantity of cards or dollars? Or
No, the number of cards.
a second, I'll tell you.
So just for the purposes of the audience, the 3 options are the council provides staff direction for the distribution of the gift cards for $58,250 received from CN in February 2022. So that would be open to council, how they would like to see those distributed. The second option is the council direct staff to work with Jade Baxter, the Relief Center manager, to distribute the Visa cards for $58,250 received from CN in February 2022 to purchase inventory of food and essential items over the months of March, April, May, and June to distribute to the relief centers. Third option is the council assigns a distribution of the Visa cards received from CN in February on a one-time basis to the Citizen Advisory Select Committee. And that was prior to knowing that the Unmet Needs Committee will be folded under the Citizen Advisory.
If we have enough to simply send them out one card per household, like we had talked about last year, could we not simply do that and get these out to people? We've been trying to get these people for months.
So these cards, Council Gray, we didn't know about these specific ones. These are the ones
Yeah.
that showed up in February. Yeah.
Yeah, and we still have the
let's
other
see.
ones, right? Sorry.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
Yeah, so, I mean, it seems if we have enough for all the households that, you know, would need one, obviously, just send them out to them. We have their addresses now, don't we? For the by-election?
We're using the provincial voting list. So that would actually be their Lytton addresses.
Okay.
But I mean, we are working on a data set for where people actually are.
Yeah, I thought Darlene had something from
Yeah,
EMBC.
that's the data set.
Yeah. Because I mean, these have been waiting a long time to get to people, and we keep running into it. I mean, I think this is what our fourth time trying to make a motion to get them out. So I realize these ones just came in, but if we could just get them into people's hands, that would probably be beneficial. Do we have
Councillor Gray?
Mhm.
Yeah, I just looked, so the initial batch that were here since October, at least when I came on, there's about 265 physical cards. And there's another 300 cards roughly that we just received in February. So if you can envision, it's more than a banker's box. Like it's physically a large inventory of cards because they're $50, $100, $200, $250 denominations. So divide that into $80,000, right? It's a lot of cards.
Yeah. I'm just, obviously there's enough number wise of cards to just give out to all the house addresses that were destroyed. Could we not simply do that? I mean, these are gift cards. It's not like you're going shopping. So you get what you get. You just grab however many cards, 2 cards per household or whatever, put them in an envelope and mail them out.
So that would be a direction of council this evening if that's, you
Yeah,
want to make a motion to that?
I'd like to
There's
make a
multiple
motion now.
denominations, though, right? So I'm not sure what the idea is, how to.
Well, I mean, we're not supposed to be partial, so we just, you know, grab 2 cards, they go into an envelope and they go to a household. You get what you get.
Seeing about the criticism council received the last time we talked about donation cards, I would prefer to go with option 3, where it goes to the Citizens Advisory Committee for distribution.
Well, weren't they supposed to do this last fall?
It was,
Counselor
there
Hay?
was, sorry, there was a resolution for that, 21-140 and then 21-239 council rescinded that resolution.
Councillor Hay?
Councillor Hay, I just, option 3, if, I realize these are time sensitive, but I would like to have a chance to speak to the members of the Unmet Needs Committee before anybody puts this on their shoulders to see if they want to handle it. 265 cards are starting to get massive and that stuff.
There's 500 cards.
Same difference, 500. Can we defer this to the next meeting? Do we have time?
That's a council decision. Yeah.
No, but do we have time? I know they're time sensitive.
Oh, yeah, so April, you're talking about the Citizen Advisory?
Yeah, no, but I mean, what I don't want to do is come back to council and find out all the cards are gone or they've expired.
The group, the $58,000 that we received in February, they expire at the end of June
Okay,
2022.
When
Okay.
when do the ones from October expire?
The end of December 2022.
Okay, so really only this batch is time sensitive.
So my
Okay.
motion would be to defer to the next meeting until I get a chance to talk to people. I don't particularly want to, if that's okay.
You need a second.
Okay. I'll second that motion. I'm deferring my own preference.
For the motion.
So what is the motion? Sorry.
So Lillian, you made a motion on option 1.
Yeah. So I guess I'll rescind that and we can motion
Never got seconded.
to
I never
defer.
got a seconder, so it's not on the floor.
Ah, okay.
So is it council's wish that we defer this matter till the next meeting to give the Citizens Advisory Committee time to reflect on this matter? Okay. So then we are on to 7.1C Municipal Enabling and Validation Act. That's for information on 22 and 23. We're going to just explain what this the MIVA is for our listeners.
Yeah, so what the MIVA is it's the Municipal Enabling Validation Act. So it provides the ability for the province to enact legislation that will allow for business of the village to continue where bylaws have been enacted previously. So basically, it received its royal assent in March, I guess it was. And so section 57 talks about the validation of the Lytton bylaws. So this section refers to or aims to provide Lytton with the authority to repeal and replace bylaws where they were lost, wholly or in part due to the fire. And then Lytton must follow all legislative requirements when using this authority to adopt specifically, lost bylaws. So that means public hearings. So if a zoning bylaw requires a public hearing, we would have to do a public hearing, proper public notice. And if any legislative requirements can't be followed, then we would refer to section 59 of the MIVA Bill 2, which talks about the powers to make regulations. And so this section is in place to assist Lytton if needed, if Lytton is unable to meet legislative requirements when dealing with a specific lost bylaw. And it is under the short-term recovery plan that this was to happen. As priority number 5, local government village community recovery team. Goal 4, corporate data rebuilding process. Item B, process to erase uncovered bylaws, MIVA in place. So that's what it's about. This is just information that the bill is now on the website and been wholly duly passed.
Thank you very much. I'm sure everyone is, I would say, well briefed on the subject. Not sure that I really needed it. So 7.1D is our heritage permit.
So the village, as you heard earlier, is required to do the archaeological works. And the province of BC, thanks to ADM Peterson, is holding the permit. Therefore, the financial liabilities aren't weighted on the village, but we are required as a village to sign the permit. And as the corporate officer, I could do that, but I wanted to bring the attention to council and get direction whether you wanted myself or the mayor to sign it. I just need a resolution to that.
Councillor Hayes so moves that the CAO is able to sign.
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion?
Get you out of work.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So we're on to 7.2, our chief financial officer. So Mr. Hawes.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the first thing on the agenda for me to speak to tonight is the budget timeline for 2022 and the financial plan 2022 through 2026. Staff met with Mayor and Council today to have a workshop and discuss the budget, which was very helpful. Our original timeline shows that on March the 24th, we'll be publishing on the websites that plan, but it's probably going to take a day or so longer than that to incorporate the discussions and updates from today. So please watch for that. March the 31st, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. is the online Zoom meeting for public input relative to the 2022 budget. Please put that in your calendars. And of course, we're working diligently towards having the budget bylaw passed on or before May the 15th. Right now, we have it scheduled for May the 13th to comply with the legislation in that respect.
Sorry to interrupt. We're just having a couple of noise issues here. There's some knocking or banging on the table, or something has been moving in the room. So it's just the last little bit of your points there, Mr. Hayes. I just missed those, and I'm just wondering if the people in the public may have missed them as well. So we just had some,
I'm not sure where the sound is coming from. It may be that my computer monitor was blocking the speaker, so I'll move that. So the last piece I was speaking to was that March 31st is the public input date, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. For the budget and financial plan. And we're working towards complying with provincial legislation to have the budget bylaw passed on May the 13th, which is prior to the deadline of May the 15th. So that was the last pieces that I spoke to. Hopefully everybody has that.
thank you.
Thank you. So we're on to 7.2B, the ICBC vehicle replacement.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the village has received the proceeds on the claims for the 2 vehicles that were destroyed in the fire. I think that was provided previously. Our project manager, James High, and his team at Colliers are working diligently trying to source vehicle replacements, and not unique to the village, vehicles of the 1-ton style vehicles are very, very difficult to source right now. And so we're waiting. We had a good meeting about that a week ago, and some ideas about some vehicles that may be available. And I'll continue to provide updates to Mayor and Council as that unfolds. And of course, the required authorization to spend.
Thank you.
The electric vehicle was a question that we had last time. You have an update on that?
Thank you, Madam CAO. So the project manager advises that electric vehicles in this 1-ton category, if you will, are just not an option. So I know Mayor and Council tasked staff with investigating that. And so unfortunately, I have to advise that it's just not an option at this time.
Thank you. So we're on to 7.2C, which is an insurance coverage for contractors.
Thank you, Your Worship. So previously, Mayor and Council have resolved to approve these agreements for other recovery team personnel, and these ones noted here in the agenda for today need to be added to that list. So the way that this works is our insurer, being the Municipal Insurance Association, has offered to include the recovery team personnel coverage for work that they're doing for Lytton only. So if they're doing work for some other project or another client, then it's not included. But so each of these folks would be added, and the annual cost for each of these is $250. So it's very, very reasonable. So staff is looking for a motion to resolve to provide staff the authority to add these recovery team personnel to the service provider agreements with Municipal Insurance Association.
Councilor Hayes,
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, CFO Hans.
Thank you.
We are on to, now we're on to item, let me have a look, see here. our fees and charges amendment bylaw 713. There are two, there's two recommendations that the Village of Lytton's fees and charges amendment bylaw number 713 22 be introduced and read for a first time. That the Village of Lytton's fees and charges amendment bylaw number 713 2022 be read a second and third time. Would someone like to make that motion?
I'll motion.
Just on page 27 and page 28, under the column bylaw 713, 2022, can we add annual? Because these are annual fees. Yeah. Before you.
So would someone like to make those two motions?
I'll
Yeah,
motion.
Okay,
As amended.
as amended, yes.
Councillor Ray, second the motion.
Is there any further discussion?
Should we be removing those lines to do with the elephant and members at
Yes.
$0?
Um,
Or is that later?
I would do it now.
You want me to speak to that?
Yes, please.
Your worship, so on Schedule D, I'll start there first. So the category 26 and 28. And on Schedule E, category 28. Staff are recommending that those be removed from these Schedule D and E. Quite frankly, I don't believe that they're legal to do that.
Okay. So do we need to make a motion
You already
to?
have it amended.
Okay.
You have an amended motion.
Yeah, you just that so you can consider those as typos. So you can move and second the first reading.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, pardon?
Lillian did.
Lillian did that. So is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So we've now done both 1 and 2.
And do them together.
Yes. And then we have item 8.2 is our policy adoption. And it's that the CAO adopt number 2022-05, the donation policy, and that the CAO be directed to introduce and implement the policy to the Village of Lytton staff and applicable contractors. Is there any discussion on this issue? Hearing none, would someone like to make the motion to adopt this policy?
Councillor Hay, so moved.
Are we adopting option 1?
This is 8.2. It's both together.
The policy adoption 2022-05. There's 2 options.
No, actually, it says that the council adopt 2205, the donation policy, and that the CAO be directed to introduce and implement the policy to the Village of Lytton staff and applicable contractors.
Oh, I'm looking at the very bottom of it where there's the 2 options. So yeah, that would be option 1. I'll second. Page 30.
It's not.
Okay.
Is referencing the 2 options for consideration. Option 1 is the option that staff has put forward as a recommendation.
That is what I'm reading on the agenda, right?
Yeah.
Right, okay. So did we make a motion to adopt this policy? Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
So we're on to 8-3, which is the delegation bylaw 714 and the procurement of purchasing policy 2022-06.
I'd like to speak to this. So given that we're in the process of receiving a contribution agreement on the $18.4 million that was granted to the village a couple of weeks ago on March the 8th, and also the length of the delegation bylaw and the policy itself, which the policy I believe is like 65 pages or such. And council received the package late Saturday night. I would like to recommend to council or suggest that you table these two until April 13th. So it gives you some time to digest the two, but also it gives staff time now to go back and figure out how we can make sure within the delegation bylaws that the funding that's coming from the provincial government can be used in a manner without having to come back to council for every $50,000 that's on the table.
Councillor Hayes will move we table it till the 13th of April.
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 65 pages. So we are now on to item 9, which is a correspondence for action. It's the Northern Development Economic Development Capacity Building Program grant that council accept the $50,000 from the Northern Development and referred to staff regarding the hire and implementation and the required reporting for the reimbursement of wages for the economic development officer role.
I'll motion that we accept it.
Councillor Hayes, second the motion.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So now we are on to 9.1B, which is the letter from the Lytton Museum and Archives Society regarding the disposal of the old fire truck. This is the one that's been parked behind the fire hall. And the recommendation from the Lytton Museum and Archives Society is that the fire truck be donated to Huntley Smith and Bert Glasgow for $1. Yeah. Is there any discussion on this matter? Hearing none, all in favor? Oh, no motion yet, sorry. Okay, could I get a motion?
I'll motion.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Hayes, second the motion.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
The second item is the Two Rivers Community Service Society, and that is the invitation to the barbecue on April the 2nd. And Noni spoke to this quite eloquently at the beginning of this meeting. And I will make an attempt to show up at this barbecue, or I will show up, put it that way. And I guess this matter is just for information. Okay, so then we have We have correspondence for information. And that the correspondence item 928 to 92E of the regular council meeting of March 22nd be received. Could I get someone to make said motion?
Or motion?
Counselor Hayes, second the motion.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you. So under the mayor's report, this week, I met with ADM Peterson and we were discussing the role and how we fit into our organizational chart with our village staff. I had him go around town and basically, I showed him where everything was. Later on Wednesday, I met with Shift Energy, Solar Earth, and the Safer Homes and Nexi people. They're proposing a secondary energy source. I was to meet with a builder, but that was postponed on 2 occasions. I met with the Atco trailer company about a commercial, and they will be filming a commercial in Lytton from April the 1st to the 3rd for 2 days. The film team is working closely with Owen Collins, and the production crew has been in contact with Matt Kahn, Tim Hendrickson from Onside, Chris Brown, and Clint Anderson. And they've been given permission and are working closely with the production to make this a successful venture. They are to follow all WorkSafe BC protocols and get all the MOT permits. And they have made a very generous donation to the village of Lytton, and will be assisting James High when it comes to the procurement of trailers and that. So I am asking the direction of council well, I'm making how do you say that, a motion that we accept ATCO's donation and allow them to film in the village of Lytton for a couple of days in April 1st and the 3rd.
I'll second.
So is there any further discussion?
Through the mayor,
Yes.
if I may, do you have the actual donation amount that we can put in the resolution here for financial purposes for Mr. Hawes?
Well, earlier on, they were going to make a donation of 5,000. However, tonight before the council meeting, they have verbally increased the amount to $50,000.
Okay,
And while I don't have it yet on paper, I expect to have it later on tonight. And that's why I didn't mention the exact amount.
we can throw this in the minutes as 50,000, and then when you adopt the minutes at the next council meeting, you can just confirm that amount, whatever's received, if that sounds amenable to everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So is there any further discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Then I've also spoke with Owen Collins, and he'd love to hear from our residents that still need to do their sifting. The residents on First and Second Street that haven't called him, please call. He's looking forward to hearing from you, and if we can get the okays from our residents, it'll help the process move quicker. And the quicker we move, the sooner we will be lifting the state of emergency and turning the property back over to you. So please call Owen. I went to a TNRD meeting where we were approving building permits for Monty Lake. That was the main item. I've also been asked about our health site. And at present, the intention is that a new health site will be built in the village of Lytton. That is what I have been told to date. Do I have it in writing? No, but I know that the Lytton Health Planning Table and LFN are moving forward, towards planning a new health site in Lytton. And I'm planning to be away from March the 18th to May the 18th and May the 22nd. And that's my report. So now we are on to Councillor Hay.
Nothing to report.
Councillor Gray.
Nothing to report. I had a motion that I wanted to make regarding the building bylaw. It's on page 4.
Okay. Would you like to speak to the motion?
Well, it seems that even insured people are going to end up being underinsured. And I think that if we put the net zero component back into the building bylaw and we get the funding for that assistance to build net zero, that will help people who are not going to be able to afford to build a home to be able to do so. We're going to lose a significant portion of our population anyway. And I think that this will help people who want to stay, as well as being able to meet some good climate action goals.
Councillor Hay.
Question, if I may, would you be agreeable for this going to the gentlemen that are looking at the bylaw now to bring it back as to look this over instead of just making it be put in?
Sure.
Would that be okay?
Hey, sorry. I missed
Thank
that
you.
last bit.
I don't think there was a last bit.
Okay.
I have a question, Lillian. If funding can't be secured for houses in Lytton, what then?
Don't know. If we can't get funding, I don't know what we're going to do. The Green Municipal Fund, the new direction of the BC government is going to help a lot with this. We fall perfectly in line with it. So if we can wave our hands really high and say, hey, we need money over here, this could be a really great opportunity to help people who want to stay in Lytton and rebuild and are just that much short to make that happen. It should help them make it actually happen. But we can definitely have it reviewed by staff to be put back into the bylaw.
Councillor Hay.
Yeah. Sorry, Councillor Hay, the reason I put that forward is they've received over 200 queries from concerned residents, and I just want to make sure they receive 50 that said they don't want necessarily, we don't force something down their throats again. So it'd be better to put it over to them, and when they do the report to council, we'll be able to get an overall view.
Sure.
Thank you.
So do we need a motion to refer this to our,
No, I can just die at the table.
okay, but to refer it to Mr. Dickinson?
Oh, I see. Yes, you should do a motion for that, yeah.
So I'll
I'll
make a
motion
motion.
to,
Okay, go ahead.
no, sorry, go ahead.
I said I'd make the motion that that this motion be referred to Mr. Dickinson and Mr. Matusi. With the intention that a report come back onto, you say that it's, you know, how do you say that it's, you know, it's practicality or its ability to come back? How would you put that?
It's okay, your worship. You know, my suggestion, the motion is fine, directed staff to look at this in light of all the comments, come back with a report to council. And also to, in fact, I don't have the information on my fingertips, but you know, what is the likelihood of qualifying? No use changing it back to net zero if for some reason we can't. So we'll help provide some background on that. What are the chances? So we'll try to have that information as well.
Okay.
Councillor Hay, I'll second the motion.
Oh, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
You. Okay. So now we are on to reports from committees of council and commissions. Citizens Advisory Committee.
Thank you, your worship. 16th of March, 2022, Mr. Dickinson, Mr. Matusi gave a good presentation to the committee on variances and grandfathering. Lots of interesting questions, and I'm quite sure people learned a lot. The other thing that's on here is the minutes, so that I'll make a motion that council receive the February 16th and March 2nd, 2022 minutes and acknowledge the receipt of the amended CAC terms of reference as presented.
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah. Under new business, the Hell or High Water fundraiser needed an MOU from the village. And I proposed that an MOU that the donations made to Lytton Hell or High Water fundraiser be equally split amongst the residents that are rebuilding their primary residence in Lytton. That is my motion.
Councillor Hay, second the motion.
Is there any further discussion? CFO Haas.
I'm just curious, your worship, do you have any estimate of the amounts that will come from this fundraiser?
No, not yet.
I did reach out to our tax advisors and to determine how this transaction would play out in terms of reporting, potential reporting. And so one of the questions that came back was, what was the quantum? So if it's nominal, then the risk is minor. So I'm not sure what to tell you right now without knowing the quantum.
I believe the fundraiser didn't raise as many funds as they had hoped. The reason I'm saying I don't know the amount, I believe there's one more date to the fundraiser as well. So should we then postpone this memorandum of understanding with Merit Rotary Club.
It's not the memorandum of understanding, your worship, that I'm concerned about. It's if the village receives the funds and then we send the money out to property owners or residents, what is our requirements in terms of reporting? So
Would it be preferable that the Rotary Club sends out the checks directly to the residents?
very much so.
Okay. I will then table the motion, and I will confer with the Rotary Club on whether that's possible.
Did you had a mover and a seconder?
I think they did.
Yes, so you need to ask your people if they're okay with you tabling it.
So,
Just don't vote, don't get the vote, nobody vote.
Yeah, you could call for a vote and they are opposed and
All you gotta do an opposed. It's
Yeah.
not as positive.
all opposed?
all those in favor. and opposed.
Okay.
Thank you, your worship.
Thank you. So then we have the calendar of outstanding events. We have our budget open house, March 31st from 6 to 8. Our Citizens Advisory Committee meeting on April the 6th. That's at what time, Councillor Hay? At 4 o'clock.
p.m.
4 p.m. We have our regular council meeting April 13th at 7 p.m. And our office will be closed from April 15th to 18th for the Easter holidays. And so that is the calendar of outstanding events. We'll move on to closed items to be released. That Blackwell and Associates were to complete a community wildfire protection plan. And that the village enter into the core operations fund agreement for the amount of $2.1 million in grant funds. And that the mayor and corporate officer be authorized to sign the agreement. And the other item, so those were the two items from the closed meeting, and the council would, we need to go into a closed meeting. So can I get a motion to go into a closed meeting under section 90-I and 92-B?
Councillor Hay, so moved.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We'll take a 5-minute break now.
Okay, thank you, everyone. This concludes the public section of the regular council meeting of this evening. If you would like to leave the meeting, you just need to click the red button at the bottom of your screen that says leave. And if you have any issues, I can assist you. We will be recessing for 5 minutes here before we reconvene into the closed session.
There goes your contract, Ron.
Breathe last.
Okay, so now we gotta go on to the closed meeting.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay, looks like everyone is, oh, I was gonna make sure we're stopping live streaming.